Oh my gosh. Yeah, we were talking about that off camera a little bit. I'm here in Los Angeles and it's like really nice out and you're there. And how do you pronounce Ypsilanti, Michigan there?
Yeah, it's one of those words. It's Ypsilanti, but it's
Yps.
Michigan, so you deal with it.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what state you're in, you'll mess something up.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so tell us, a little bit about how you got started with H Cube Landscaping. What's been your journey, as a business owner, and yeah, what got you into all that?
Hard knocks. Um, well, the whole name comes from being the third in the name line. So
Okay.
in shapes, cube is three.
Yep.
So it just started then. I started when I was in high school. Um, did that for 4 or 5 years. Didn't really plan for winter, not having a secondary job, and then some things happened. Snow wasn't able to support me, so I moved out of town.
Yep.
Drove for 15 years, came
Wow.
back. Um, at that point, I had 3 kids. Um, that was so I graduated in 2000. I'm 44 now, 45 later on in the year. So there's that catch 22 of your time, you're home all the time. That over the road is great, but it's better for a young guy, not someone with kids and a wife.
Exactly. Exactly. 44 here as well. Great age to be. Let's go. Uh, so you drove some real big
Yeah, it
trucks.
works, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, gotta keep
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So
Um,
all 48 states and Canada.
wow. That was probably pretty cool. And then now you're in the season of
Yeah,
putting
it's
some
pretty cool.
roots
You get to see
down.
the world from the windshield and a driver's seat.
Yep, yep. So how long you been putting the roots down and doing this now?
I think we're going on 10 years now. Back at it.
Yep.
So when I quit, when I was out of high school, I had all the same equipment. I mean, I never really let anything go. I was always doing side jobs when I was home. We'd cut a tree down or a dirt job. My dad would set something up and I'd come home and, basically be the laborer and the brain power. So there
Sure.
was always stuff going on.
Yep. And so there's a
And
legacy.
then that worked great.
There's a legacy of trades with your dad.
Not really.
Okay.
I think he was more like a shotgun rider. And then in the beginning, he was like the paycheck backer guy. He helped buy some equipment for me, and then I'd end up paying him back.
Sure.
When I was in middle school, they bought my first snowblower. Like I had a shovel driveways. Then they bought me the snowblower. I paid that back. Um, and then we got a little Cub, which is an older tractor. Uh, um, like a 58. So
Yep.
then I was plowing with that and we just upgraded and here I am, 3, 4 trucks. And
Yep.
then he's got the New Holland tractor. So we put a modified snow plow on it, plowing with that before I even had a truck. I had a dump truck with 2-wheel drive stick. I had an S10. You're not really plowing in either of those.
Sure. Sure. Um,
And
so
that
yeah.
was that was like coming out of high school era.
Yep. What percentage of your business there? Kind of dumb questions coming from SoCal here, but it's like half the year you're doing kind of snow removal stuff, the other half of the year landscaping for your
Yeah,
dad.
it's 26 weeks for lawn, and then you've got your spring cleanup kind of right before that. You got your fall cleanup after that. You've got some sprinkler irrigations in that same fall cleanup era.
Okay.
So you're busy, but then
Yep.
lately snow's been coming about Thanksgiving, and
Yep.
then by April it's gone.
Got
You got that April Easter kind of. It might snow, it might rain. It just depends on if it's a cold front or not.
Yep. So you kind
So
of
all
do
my contracts run till Easter.
so you do a little bit of everything. So that's probably really valuable for clients because you can help them with
You
8 to
know,
7.
that's the way I look at it. I look at it as I can have 10 clients, but if I'm supporting them on every avenue that they do, then they don't call anybody else.
Yep.
And that's why I think I've had a lot of repeat customers. Like I don't advertise really like on the internet or go crazy with bidding and
Sure.
ads.
Sure.
I don't do a lot of door hangers. Now I should. I'm not saying I shouldn't,
Sure.
but it's just right now it's just my son and I
Yep.
had it growing, and there's that stage where you've got manpower and labor and you've got to support it, and
Yep.
I didn't know that balance yet, so we bumped it back.
Yep.
We pulled our horns in as far as our outside run. We
Sure.
were going way out to like Novi and Taylor,
Yep.
which is about 10 to 15 miles out, but I had them broke up onto days. So I would go out to one area one day, another area a day. So I
Yep.
was had a route, but it's just by the time something goes wrong, then you can't circle back to it or some, or
Sure.
you have customers calling for other things
Yep.
and you're just so busy you can't reach everything within a timely fashion. You have
Yep.
7 days to do lawns. You have 7 hours to move snow.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting. I've talked with some other business owners, and they tried, expanding the business. And he said, "Hey, I had 3 trucks. I was actually losing money in a weird way, but if I had like 6, 7 crews, then it would be profitable. But it's like then your quality of life. I imagine you have to do a lot more management, um, and a lot more
Yeah.
payroll. So yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I think being a
Yeah, there's that point of overhead to profit, or income.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good lesson for a lot of people. And, no matter what they're doing, sometimes bigger is not always better.
Right. Yeah, right now it's just basically my son and I, he's turning 16 in basically 30, say 40 days. So
Mhm.
February-ish, 10th, he'll be 16. So he's
Yep.
already driving license wise. We'll take him out to a job site and I'll let him snowplow and stuff. So it's great in that aspect. He's
Yep.
ridden with me since he was 6 years old. Like
Yep.
daycare is expensive.
Wow.
So I'd take the twins. So, she would ride, she would answer my phone. And at 6 years old, she's answering my phone going, H Cube Landscaping, how can I help you?
That's awesome.
And it was great because she would play on my phone. I couldn't hear it when I was mowing anyway.
Yep.
So it kind of worked out really good. She got to play on the phone. It would charge. She would answer it. She'd go back to playing her video games or whatever, and then deliver me the messages. If they were really important, she'd get out of the truck and run it to me and be like, Daddy.
That's so cool. It really makes me think.
Yeah, it was really a benefit because the wife and I didn't have to pay for daycare. They were taken care of. The wife might pack us lunch or we'd get something, and
Yep.
it was just us. So we just had to take care of each other. I didn't have to pay for daycare. I didn't, we'll lock the house up, go out, and come home.
Yep. I mean, that's how society used to be with apprenticeships, right? People would apprentice to their dad, who was, um, a smith
If you
or
go back,
something.
a lot of the names are actually related to certain jobs, that were in that area, the farriers for horseshoeing and stuff, the wooden shoemakers, a lot of those names go back to that. You
Wow.
just have to research a lot into history.
Yeah. I think that's super cool. I don't know. It'd be interesting to hear if you were really thoughtful, intentional about that, or if it just kind of happened naturally for you and that's your world. I think going to university and
For us, it just happened naturally.
yep. Do you recommend that,
Um, I
for
did the
others?
college for a little bit.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I think that's something that's really interesting right now. I think getting a university degree and going into debt and studying something that may not even be a relevant job with AI and the crazy changing future we're in. I think we need more, people in the trades. So how would you recommend what's worked for you? Clearly you're a good dad, getting your sons excited to work with you. How does that work? And any, advice for other fathers that are in the trades to get their, kids?
I would say if anything, you know, he's burned out. So he had a winter summer off. Um, right now he's doing the homeschooling, which is working out really good. He gets all his schoolwork on Sunday, and as long as it's turned in by the next Sunday or previous Sunday, he's good. So, you do it, you get it. So he can go out with me on a snowstorm, have a whole day of working, come home, sleep a few hours, do schoolwork, or do it at his leisure.
Wow.
His sister, on the other hand, she likes the schools. They're in
Sure.
this, they're same school related, so he can do all the same sports. He could go to all the same events.
Yep.
They're both school related, but for him, he doesn't have to worry about 45 minutes, change classes 45 minutes. So it's just finding that niche of what works good with the child,
Yep.
and then grooming them. For him, I've been able to groom him on driving and mowing a lawn and how to do it right, how to talk to customers and shake a hand and look them in the eye.
Yep.
If you're going to go to college or do anything like that, it's got to be business. It's got to be, how do you do your books? Because I can do all the physical labor, but I didn't study enough of the backside to understand the highs and lows of the money, the income,
Sure.
what makes everything work really good.
Hmm.
So I'm learning that now. The first round, it was everything was hard knocks.
Yep.
With YouTube, before I got back into the game,
Yep.
I had a lot of YouTube videos from watching everybody else.
Yep.
But like they tell you, everybody else is not you. So you have to know how to pick and choose what fits you properly with the YouTube world
Hmm.
and other businesses. Because other businesses' mottos don't always fit what you're trying to do.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. There's a lot of information out there, and picking the right
Yeah.
information is
And
a
and
super.
I'm not saying it's all wrong or bad. It's just you have to pick what's going to fit with what you're trying to do, so that way you can use it properly to your benefit. Other words, you're going to try copying someone else and it's going to work for a bit, but it might not fit the market and might not fit what you want to do, and you've just wasted a bunch of time, and you think their routine's wrong, and it's not. It's just it doesn't work for you.
Yeah, that happens, right? We compare ourselves to other people. We try to be them, and we're not authentic to what we're doing, right? So I think
Right.
that's why
I
it's
mean,
important.
I've found my niches. I got a lot of, I like to say I'm equipment poor. I've got tons of it. I've got borers and chippers for trees, chainsaws. I've
Yep.
got the aeration machines. And so what I've done is I've found guys that just mow lawns or whatever. So then they're my advertisement because they can't do it. So they call me, and
Yep.
then I'll go do their stuff for them.
Sure.
They'll take a piece off the top and set it up,
Yep.
or they'll just give me the work and say, here, call this guy, and they'll give that guy a number and give me his number, and we'll chit chat. And I've made some good customers that way. I've made great friends that way too.
Wow.
And then when they need something, they'll call me. One of them runs my snowplow truck right now, and we kind of, bounce off of what we're doing for winter.
Yep.
Um, the few years ago when I didn't have the contracts I have now, I had a buddy that we grew up together. He does egresses and stuff. Well, that's an all year gig. And
Yep.
right now I'm doing a sweeping thing where I'll go to mall parking lots and I'll sweep them.
Yep.
You can't do that when they salt and snow, but I can go work my own stuff. So I've always got that like house money coming in to at least make sure the house payment's taken care of, the car payments are good,
Yep.
and then I can do my winter stuff as I feel fit,
Yep. Yep.
because the two don't interact. They're separate. You
Yep.
can't do both of them at the same time.
Can you do grading with the same material, with the same tractors that you do the snow plowing stuff with?
You know, this is all trucks. We're doing all commercial big lots and stuff.
Okay.
But I have in the first generation of the company, I did. I had a New Holland tractor, 35 horse, and I had it's a funny story, but my dad worked in Detroit and found an abandoned house, and we ended up pulling an abandoned snowplow out of there. No
Wow.
motor or anything, just a frame and a plow. He brought
Wow.
it home, we fixed it and mounted it to the bucket so that we could work.
Interesting. Very cool.
And there you go, boys and toys.
Yep.
Necessity is the mother of all inventions.
So, what percentage of your work is commercial versus residential?
It switches. So right now, all my snow stuff is pretty much commercial. But
Okay.
when you go to summer, a lot of it's residential because I have those repeat customers.
Okay.
And it's like a knit family.
So, what would be like the range of services that you offer for commercial? Um, and how many different things do you do for these guys? And what's maybe the range of services that a typical residential owner might be able to, you know?
I mean, we go from A to Z. I mean, it's crazy. So my residentials, they're older customers or that can't do everything. I mean, we've gone to fixing some sinks and toilets and change a light plug for them. I
Yep.
just literally went to a house and changed the lights outside the garage and
Cool.
changed the faucets for them. That was it. Just and put some CRL in a bag over their shower head. It was
Wow.
just but that's a homeowner.
Yep.
The commercial, everything's, your T's are dotted or your T's are crossed, your I's are dotted,
Yep.
and everything's paper trailed.
Yep.
So you don't really step outside of the box per se with a business commercial job. Everything's okay. This is what we're doing.
Sure.
Lawns are always watered, so you're not worrying about everything. So,
Yep.
but those aspects are where you set up for your irrigation. You set up for you have like a yearly plan,
Yep.
and so you with Michigan, you try to dance so that you're covered all year long.
Yep.
You're doing your fall cleanups. You might have to do some fertilization and stuff like that. I'm not
Yep.
licensed, so I try not to mess with any of that.
Got it.
I mean, there's enough people that have that as a pure business.
Sure.
And there is something saying when you wear too many hats, you get too flustered.
Yep.
So that's one hat I try not to wear just because I've got to be licensed and the hoops that I have to jump through with it.
Interesting. So you try to be on like kind of a, yearly, monthly cadence. If it's with the lawn care, you guys are every 2 weeks, or you have like automated kind of billing set up with
So
all you guys.
yeah, so Billings, so the wife kind of takes care of that, um, which is good. She'll send out bills. Some people pretty much pay every week or as soon as I leave,
Okay.
which is great. I'm
Yep.
really looking at trying to get something more on a weekly. I type it in, I was here, send a picture
Sure.
before and after, and I'm gone.
Yep.
That's what I'm looking at doing this year.
Yep.
Last year, it was more of the wife would bill them at the end of the month. And that's where you start getting into the fluctuation of money of being tight, maybe. And then it's a big fluctuation balloon of
Yeah.
money. Now you have to budget that for the month.
Totally. And,
So,
and then you're doing
and
bill
as
collection and all that stuff and spending energy.
oh
But
man, it's just crazy. And then, throw in something that maybe wasn't a natural plan. And I got to
sure.
make sure I notate it for the wife so she knows that she's got a bill for that.
Yep.
Other words, it gets lost in the mix three,
Yep.
4 weeks later.
Yep. Well,
Um,
to circle back on, some of changing light bulbs and doing some of these smaller things for your residential clients. I mean, one, I just see that shows that you really care about these guys and you have a deep relationship. I'm sure they really, appreciate that. And some people might be like, oh, that's too small of a job, but like clearly you care about these people
Well,
and
I mean, they're just like us, you know. I mean, they can call a handyman. I mean, I'm just already there. They
yep,
already have a familiarity with me. I
yep,
mean, some of them, let me in their house, and at that point, you're at the thing. I mean, there's one customer I have. We call her our lifetime customer, and she's from Greece. She was a VA hospital nurse, and
mm,
awesome. We go over there for Halloween with the kids. We'll go there, say hi after New Year's.
yep,
We try to set up some stuff in the summer, but I put her whole sprinkler system in.
okay,
I
cool,
In the beginning I was doing out of the odd jobs as far as I dug away from her garage and we tarred it, waterproofed it basically, her garage.
okay,
So in the beginning, I was taking a lot of jobs that were out of my circle wheelhouse,
sure,
but it was to get the business back up off the ground because in the beginning, when I was younger, I didn't have to support a family.
sure,
Here, when I started it the second time, I had a family to support. So I had to make money and I couldn't just wait for it to grow. So I
yep,
took a lot, I said yes, a lot. And that's knowing your worth. Once
yep,
you know that, then you can start to say, no, I'm not going to do that.
yep,
You want to lowball me, and I can't do that.
yep,
And that's something a lot of new guys don't know is knowing your worth.
yep. Yeah, it's kind of almost like a self-love thing, sometimes you don't feel like you deserve to charge as much as you should, and you have to like not to get too woo-woo, but something that we, encourage our, clients to um, charge what they're worth. So what for you,
Right.
what's the most scalable things? Is doing the commercial stuff a little bit more scalable? Where do you want to be growing, in the future?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind commercial. Commercial's great in the aspect like it doesn't matter if it doesn't rain, they're watering their grass. So every week you go out, you take care of it. They pay your labor, they pay this, they pay that, and
Yep,
you have a guaranteed paycheck. In
yep,
your residentials, you go in the months of July when it's really hot. Some people don't water. You're not mowing their lawn for 2 weeks,
mm.
which gets to be a drain if those are the only customers you have.
Okay, so dumb question. So if
Some of
you're
the
not
other
if you're not watering, it doesn't grow as fast.
yeah, so basically grass needs an inch of water a week. So
Okay,
basically they say take a tuna can, you know, run your sprinklers to see how long it takes to fill up. When it hits your inch, then what you do is you try to divide that through the week. And
got it.
so you don't need to run your sprinkler system for 15 minutes. Once the water starts shedding off the yard and the ground is saturated, you're wasting water now. So
Got it.
anybody that's listening, you want to run 3 to 4 minutes, maybe longer in certain areas that are more sun prone,
Okay.
especially the way the sun bounces off the windows, it
Yep.
reflects back and it's twice as heated.
Okay.
And then bare grass, that's more bare in spots or that had maybe a heavy de-weeding,
Mhm.
that will burn up faster because it doesn't have the other grasses to shade it.
That makes sense.
And then they'll always say cut your grass taller because it shades better.
Yep. Yep.
The shorter grass allows that sun to get through it to the sun. It's kind of like wearing long hair and short hair. The sun can get right to my scalp, but with long hair, it won't because the hair is overlapped.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I was talking to a tree
Yeah,
trimmer.
yeah. A lot of people don't know the little
I was talking
tidbits of it.
I was talking to a tree trimmer the other day on the podcast, and same thing for wind. So the more branches they are, the more it disperses the wind and less chance of the branch breaking, which I didn't know. And this is kind of same thing with the sun. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, I would uh,
Yeah,
love.
so it's funny too. You'll see maybe where there was an old patio or an old shed and there's a cement slab out there, but they let it go. So now there's 4 or 5 inches of dirt or 2 inches of dirt.
Yep.
You need at least 4 inches of dirt over top of it for the sun not to bake the cement.
Huh.
It's very ironic, but the sun rays go through the dirt, they hit the cement. Well, that heats up and it
Yep.
actually bakes that dirt from the bottom up.
Yep.
And
Interesting.
if you notice, yeah, you'll see like those patio stones that people use, like the footprints
Mhm.
ones, you'll see them overgrow and then you'll see them start to wear back out because the
Yep.
center gets so hot there that heat starts killing the dirt.
Yep. Yep.
And what
Good.
we always do in the summer, we'll always take our blower packs and weed whip that and hit it with a blower and make that dirt blow away so you can see that
Yep.
cement slab again.
Yep. Gotcha. Okay, so for your residential clients, Robert, you help them do the irrigation, do the weekly bi-weekly lawn mowing, um, snow
Yeah, we'll
removal.
do some bush trimming. I've done some tree trimming.
Yep.
Uh, I carry a 24-foot trailer. I've got 3 mowers on there. I can fit four.
Yep.
I've got 2 racks, so I'm carrying two of everything as far or three. I've got a bed definer. I've got the weed whackers. I've
Yep.
got edgers. I've got one pole saw. I've got a wheelbarrow. I've got 3 blower packs. In the fall time, we carry our push blower.
Yep.
Also in the fall, I run the rake plow on the front of the mower. And a lot of that is when you go to a customer and a limb breaks, let's say from the windstorm, they're going
Yep.
to say, hey, can you get that down for me?
Okay.
If I don't have the equipment, I have to say, oh, I'll get it when I come back. But
Sure.
guess what? Their son comes over that weekend and he reaches up there, knocks it down, or cuts it down for him, or the neighbor comes over.
Yep.
Well, now I lost out on money. If I just carry the equipment in the trailer, I'm good and I can
Yep.
make the money.
Yeah. And great service for them. They get
And
help.
now I'm a help to a customer.
Yep. What
Yeah,
are,
I did it in a timely fashion. I got
yep.
paid for it and I didn't lose the money.
Yep. Robert, so what are some of the things that H Cube landscaping you guys do that maybe your clients don't know that you do that you'd like them to be more aware of?
We do the fall cleanups, we do irrigation, sprinkler startup, we do the sprinkler blowouts, and the we could put the whole system in.
Yep.
All I will do is I'll have my plumber buddy come in because he's certified and he'll hook up the line to the main system
Got it.
and run it out. Now, with certain cities, you're going to want to check. They tax you on what water is used with part of your sewer system. I'm running this into Saline. Saline's like a sister town right over here.
Okay.
They actually charge for it. So by putting the sprinkler system on a second water meter, they're
Yep.
able to null and void that sewage cost.
Okay. Interesting.
But once he runs that outside and gives me that water line, I
Yep.
can solder it, I can run it, I can solder it and do everything. It's just insurance doesn't allow me to mess with that water line.
Got it.
It
Got it.
keeps me in a happy neutral zone.
How often should people be doing their blowouts?
You want to do it before it freezes, honestly. There's
Okay.
the backflow valve, which is the valve system outside the house, and it's all for bacteria, is all it is. Once you get your bacteria into the house, into the lines, and the easiest way to explain it, it's like that germ that when you pee in the water in one of the countries, it goes up into your body from the urine.
Okay.
Basically, it's the same way. Bacteria can go even with water pressure, it can get in. Well, once it's in the house, then you have to fight. It's crazy what you have to do to the house.
Interesting.
So the cities have made everybody put in backflow valves.
Okay. Got it. Got it.
And basically, that's all plastic and springs. You just don't want that to freeze. So we start shutting them off come September. By Thanksgiving, you pretty much want them all blown out and done. maybe a few weeks before Thanksgiving just for weather temps. But it
Yep.
depends where you're at, and what the weather's like.
Sure. Sure. Interesting.
I did a
Very,
few right before Thanksgiving, and we were out there torching the copper line, getting it to defrost.
yep. Got it.
But they
Uh,
didn't break anything, so I was good and happy with them.
yeah. Speaking of the house, what do you have to do around the houses? I bought a couple houses in Detroit a couple years ago, and I know that with basements you have water seepage that goes down. So are there any plants that are good to have around there to avoid that, or slopage, or are you
Mostly
involved?
just your slopage. You want that positive, and they'll tell you that when you buy the house. When you buy or sell or whatever, they're going to tell you you want water to disperse away. So, and then if you look at most of your houses, they'll have a tar line around because that's trying to waterproof the brick and the cement. So
Yep.
you want to bring that dirt up. They say trees are real bad because their roots go out as tall as they are. So you
Sure.
think about putting it next to a tree next to a house, and it's only 2 stories tall.
Yep.
But as soon as it hits that house wall, that basement wall, those
Yep.
roots have to go all the way out and around it. And
Yep.
I've seen roots move basement walls.
Wow. So if you cut a
Yeah,
tree
I
down that's
mean,
encroaching upon a house and you, I guess, do the stump grinding, that's going to kill
yeah,
the expansion. You don't have to go, how deep do you have to go to stop the roots from growing?
I just so it depends if they're trying to replant something or if they're just getting rid of it. If they're just getting rid of it, it depends on the flush, or we'll stump grind it below the dirt and call it good.
Got it. Got it.
It just depends what they're looking to do.
Yep. Interesting. Yeah. Dumb question. Roots don't grow when the tree's cut. Roots stop growing.
Well, I can't say no because they technically do sometimes.
Okay.
I've seen some bigger trees. If you just cut the tree and leave it, they'll start sprouting the new ones off of that trunk. It just depends how growth the tree is. If it's dying, then no. But
Okay.
if it was healthy and you got rid of it, it might come back.
So
So
the
that's
stump
where maybe
grinding
putting
or
right the stump grinding prevents all that.
got it.
Also maybe spreading like a roundup or a natural like vinegar on top of it. A tree is just like a human. It takes 24 hours for it to seal its cut. So if you cut a limb off, it's going to take 24 hours for it to make a sap band-aid.
Okay. Interesting.
And
Yeah.
that's why when you cut limbs, they say it's a 1, 2, 3 process. I wish
Yep.
I had a diagram to show you, but
Sure.
it's a 1, 2, 3, and
Yep.
it'll show you how you cut the limb and not break it and damage it. And you don't want to rip the bark off. The bark of a tree is like your skin,
Yep.
and the more you open up, the more it has for um, algae and bacteria to infest that and possibly kill the tree.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's weird. I've learned a lot of different things in the different levels of my industry just from watching YouTube and talking to other people. I've
Yep.
never actually worked for any other landscaper but myself. I've
Interesting.
never in this industry. I've never worked for a sprinkler guy,
Yep.
no plumbing guy. I've always kind of been my own and had to learn hard knocks. So I've learned all this so that I didn't run into mistakes.
Yep.
And that's not saying I didn't do a lot of things wrong in the beginning.
Sure. Sure. 10 years deep, you know
I
some
mean, I
stuff.
made my own tree harness.
Um, what are
Yeah,
some
I
things?
made my own tree harness.
Oh, cool. Very cool. So, what are
Yeah,
some things
I
that
wouldn't
like?
recommend it.
What are some things that homeowners maybe should be thinking about? That are maybe preventative or things that they should do that would maybe cost a little bit money in the short run, but save them money in the long run? Or what are things that homeowners are forgetting to take care of maintenance wise?
Mine, I always point out their basement windows. A little bit of that is my buddy does the egresses and the basement windows, but I'm going around your house, say 20 times a year. So I'm always kind of looking at everything. I'm looking at your sheds, where maybe an animal's digging a hole or getting in. I'm looking at your fences. I'm looking at bushes.
Yep.
They're the best ones to ask what to do and take the advice sometimes. I'm not saying no,
Sure.
but they're seeing everything. And if they're bringing this to your attention, it's
Yep.
usually a reason why.
Yeah. So just
Um,
having someone like you with a relationship that is going around and checking on stuff and having that dialogue is important.
yeah, yeah. So you put it, so a lot of people put pine trees in front of their houses. They
Hmm.
grow up and they were Christmas tree size. They fit in your living room. Now they're 2 stories. That
Yep.
bottom cone is starting to rub against the house and the brick.
Yep.
Well, if you trim that back, that's less damage to your brick, your mortar, less
Sure.
moisture rubbing your the plastic and the shingles too.
Yep.
And that's a roof issue. And
Yep.
then the gutters, so you got to blow your gutters out, at least once a year
Yep.
recommended.
Yep.
So there's just those little things that people like in the industry see,
Yeah.
but not everybody sees them the way I do or are looking at everything else work wise. They want to do their job and get out.
Yep.
Or
And how,
some people run a crew.
yep. How do you plan all this
And
stuff? It seems like there's so many things that homeowners need to be doing, all these little things, and so many services you offer. How do you help your clients like schedule this out? Are you guys sending reminder emails during different times of the year or creating a calendar?
so with that, I kind of touch base with everybody as I see them.
Hmm.
And certain things will be so the basement windows are more of a winter thing. Nobody
Yep.
wants to mess with them and pay them money in the summer.
Yep.
They want to do them right before winter because that's when they're going to get their best heating from them.
Okay.
But you're just shooting glass block or plastic, you mortar them in or caulk them, and you're in and out. So
Yep.
it's not too bad.
Yep.
With the flip side, if a stone hits one, I can replace it myself. I don't have to call anybody.
Sure. Sure.
And stones fly out from under the lawnmower without control all the time. I run blockers, but
Yep.
that doesn't stop accidents.
Yep. Yep. Got it. Yeah. So you just
Gutters are kind of a spring or fall thing, but you want to do them early in the fall because you don't want the water to freeze in them. I'll have so many customers call me and it's like November. Well, my schedule's 3 weeks out. Here we go. I'm fighting maybe the frost or the frozen gutter. So I
yep.
got to wait for the sunlight. And with Michigan sun going down at 4 or 5 o'clock, I have to hit it right at like 2 o'clock perfect.
Yep. Interesting. Yeah.
So you've got 12 months. You just got to pick and choose what's what. You're
Yep.
always kind of giving everybody a 2 month heads up of what's coming.
Yep. This
So
is
as
kind of
soon as
all.
we start lawns, we'll start.
So someone that doesn't have your experience isn't able to kind of educate, clients about all these different homeowners about all these different things. So
Yeah, and now that I've got the experience, that's where that price of knowing what you're worth comes in. Yeah, Bill down the street with a lawnmower and a blower pack and everything walking up and down the street can do the job.
sure.
But what you pay for, quality and quantity, is also a benefit because you're paying for the knowledge
Yep.
and the time of up and down the streets and moving the lawnmowers and the equipment and the knowledge of being on the job site with different projects that may have popped up,
Yep.
good or bad.
Yep. No, that's super valuable because, well, yeah, a lot of these things you get water in the gutters and those blow up, and then that's a whole bigger cost. So it's, yeah, super valuable to have someone like you that's looking out for all those things. What about commercial clients? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, you give everybody about um, commercial clients kind of everything set up right in the beginning.
Uh-huh.
So the nice thing with them is you only have maybe one person to talk to. You don't have that travel time of multiple people looking at things. So you're in, you're out, you're gone.
Yep.
Everything's on a schedule. Flowers have to be at a certain time,
Yep.
in your island. Sprinklers get turned on, they get
Sure.
turned off. So you have your yearly schedule with them already pre-planned. So you
Yep.
just have to make sure you accommodate that.
Yep.
They give you a window basically of what's going to be done. You already have your price and everything signed. You just make sure you get it done,
Yep. Yep. Got it.
which is good in the aspect of your work is already planned for you. You just
Sure.
have to go do it.
Yep. Very cool. Love learning all this stuff. What's one thing that you would like you know your clients, the world, to know about, that's important, um, and yeah, that we haven't touched on here. Anything come to mind?
Um, the family aspect's kind of nice because when you're dealing with your residentials, it's nicer to say hello to somebody than to, okay, I mow that lawn, okay, I'm in, I'm out, I'm gone. Where that few minutes of just chatting for a minute or something, everybody else can get stuff going.
Yep.
But that 5 minutes of just saying hello and how are you doing, and maybe talking about a vacation they took or a trip or something coming up gives that family vibe a little bit. You're not just their worker, you're their friend. They
Yep.
hired you, yes, but they're your friend.
Yep. And you're
And then, as far as
supporting these families, but you're also a family doing business, which is cool, and they're supporting you, which is great.
right, and that also buys you a little lenience too, if say you snip a flower, a new guy comes in and weed whip something that wasn't supposed to be weed whipped and you didn't get a chance to tell them, or they planted something,
Yep.
you get a little lenience now because you've built this rapport with a customer. They're a little more at to be flexible with you. All right, we're done. I'm going to fire you and I'll just get someone else.
Yep. Yep.
Not saying you want to do that all the time,
Sure.
but things happen. You can't control everything.
Yep.
Stones, fences, stuff breaks and you tear up the lawn because maybe a tire went out or something, and then now you got to drag the lawnmower off the property or push it out, and there's
Yep.
no way to do it, and you've got scuff marks or whatever.
Totally.
Customers will deal with a little more because now you're dealing with them more as a friend slash
Yep.
worker instead of just I come in, I mow the lawn, I leave.
Yep. Yep.
Not saying that that's not bad. I mean, I get it. Sometimes you're in a hurry and you got to do it, but
Sure.
sometimes you need to meet the customer and be on the same level.
Yep. Yep. No, that makes sense. And yeah, it sounds like, with all the crazy equipment you have and all the things you do for these clients, that you're really, able to have a deeper relationship than some other people that only do one or two things. So, yeah, very
Yeah,
cool.
I mean that does help out in that aspect. They can say, "Hey, I need this done." And a lot of it is just keeping it in their mind.
Yep.
Sending them a postcard with maybe what you do, giving them that tidbit of being able to talk to them and say, "Hey, I've got this going on or this is coming up. Have you planned it?"
Sure.
Or you see them starting to do something like I got a customer with her deck that's all messed up, and I mentioned it to her, "Hey, I can redo your deck for you."
Yep.
And she goes, "Well, my nephew's gonna do it." Okay, and I've given him all winter. In the spring, I'll mention it again.
Sure.
But you don't want to bombard these people. But at the same time, you see it, you know how to do it, and you can do it, and
Yep.
it pays.
Yep.
So there's that aspect of being able to, touch base and say, okay, I can do this instead of you see a job that's money and then you don't act on it. So then you don't even get to say you claimed it.
Totally. Totally. Um, Love it. Well, it's so
With
cool
that,
to
I'm
hear.
I'm in the
It's so cool to
process
hear. Sorry, go
of
ahead.
contract license.
You're getting your
Oh,
contract license?
I was saying I was in the process. I'm in the process of getting my contractor's license to be able to step outside of that comfort zone, to
Yep.
do a little more stuff like that, the decks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is a rebuild of a deck, so I don't qualify. It doesn't qualify under that.
Sure. Sure.
But if I was to build a brand new deck for a customer, then I'd have to be licensed, blah, blah, blah.
Deck billings. I mean, there's so many weather related things. You guys have real weather out there, and decks probably go
Yeah.
through it. So it's cool to. That's definitely, I think, a great other service to offer. And a lot of things you're doing are kind of weather related, helping these clients, navigate, the seasons, and that seems like it would be a good fit.
Yeah. I
Very
mean, there were clients that were elderly and didn't get outside. I mean, when I did the snow for them, I would go and sweep their windows off of the one car, basically because her daughter, old enough to be my mom, wasn't able to get there. And I grew up across the street when I was younger. So when
Yep.
we did their driveway and cleaned it out, I would just, sweep off the car and everything.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's just that's that
Little thing.
family rapport. You go a little more beyond than it is.
Yep. Yep. Very cool. Well, if I was living in your area, Robert, I would for sure, have you taking care of all this stuff, and it'd be really cool to have someone that can do all that stuff, like um, and be looking out for all the little things that, again, when you have weather, things have to be done. It's not an
Yeah,
optional
I
thing.
mean, and that's the thing. We have a frost law of like 42 inches. So
Mhm.
your basements, your footers, your deck posts are all 42 inches below frost or
Yep.
42 below ground, which
Okay.
puts it below frost.
Okay.
Um, which is like you said, 4 seasons. We have them. Welcome to Michigan. You wait 5 minutes. It rained yesterday at 60 degrees and it's now 28 with
Well,
snow.
crazy.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was high winds and then the cold came in.
Yep. Man versus the elements. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, people need you on their team to win that battle for sure. Very cool. Um, awesome. Anything else you want to leave? I think we covered a lot of ground here. Anything other closing thoughts you want to leave with your community, and things you want to let people know?
Um, I think a big thing is when you find somebody you like to stick with them
Yep.
and then you find out about them and then at the same time, for other landscapers, it doesn't hurt to mingle with the other landscape guys
Yep.
because they're doing something you are not and vice versa and you're not there's enough grass, you're not competing with anybody.
Yep.
There's enough grass out for everybody.
Yep.
But there is something about knowing people that don't do something but are in the same industry because they have that relationship with a customer and need somebody they can depend on to do it that's not gonna backstab them to steal the lawn. Maybe come in, trim some tree work because they can't do it,
Yep.
but they don't want to like give it to a guy that's gonna, oh yeah, I can do your lawn, I can do this and that. So
Sure.
there's that rapport with another landscape guy that'll benefit you on two levels.
Yep.
You get the arsenal of maybe something he can do that you can't,
Yep.
but then you also have the rapport with him that he's not going to backstab you.
Yep.
And
Well,
you're still able to offer it to your customer as the main directive.
yep.
So
Um,
they're
cool.
mingling's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I love hearing, yeah, that level of integrity you have, Robert, your experience, the fact that you're, apprenticing your son, and your daughter, getting them involved, the family business. That's really cool. I think the world needs more of that today. The world for sure needs more people in the trades, and
Yes.
and it's interesting. We have a huge shortage of this. And now you have like computer programmers and all these types of people that are out of jobs with AI, and like people are like going into the trades, but they don't have experience, right? So um, we need,
Right. Well, you got to start somewhere.
and yeah, we got to teach the next generation, and I think it's beautiful you're doing that.
Yeah, that's one thing with him hanging out with me and me doing all these different little things. He's got his hand on a lot of stuff knowledge wise. So he's covered in whatever aspect he
Yep.
wants to go.
Yeah.
The world
A lot.
needs ditch diggers, but they
Right.
also need that one guy on top of the hill that knows how to read the blueprints
Yep.
and tell you how to dig.
Yeah. Well, a lot of kids rebel, right?
And I
They
try to
don't.
tell them you don't want to be a ditch digger.
Yeah. I know you want to be a little more skilled. Well, it's cool that
Yeah,
that you
yeah.
follow in your footsteps. He respects you clearly, and wants to follow in your footsteps. So that's a testament to you.
Yeah, I'd like to pass it off to him. I mean, we'll see. He's not interested in it now, but a lot of that could just be burned out or school or whatever. But you know, he's not dumb, so I know whatever he does, he'll do well at.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Well, great having a conversation with you, Robert. Thanks again for coming on, joining, sharing your story and some knowledge. I definitely learned, a good amount here. And yeah.
Hey, I like to try to teach. I mean, that's what I tell my customers when I talk to them. I'll try to, give them a tidbit that they haven't caught yet. Because if you're not learning, you're not educating yourself, and there's always something to learn. So I
like how
appreciate this, Matt.
yeah,
It's
like how
been
to
great
pronounce
to talk. And
Ypsilanti.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's like Detroit is technically French.
Yep.
Detroit's based off of French because of the Canadian.
Oh
It's
wow.
weird. Yeah,
Huh.
there's so many things.
Very
But yeah,
interesting.
this was great to come on. I mean, I hope somebody maybe found a better landscape guy that they can be more friends and family and benefit and learn some stuff, or they'll start walking around their house and seeing things. And maybe
Absolutely.
a landscape guy makes friends with another landscape guy and they trade customers because it's beneficial for the drive time. Who knows?
Yep. Absolutely.
And everybody can make money better. So that's the name of the game in the world.
Okay. Well, if you're in the Ypsilanti area up there, H cubed is for sure. I think you guys are a crazy asset to any homeowner, or any commercial business. So yeah,
I'd
you can
like
make
to think so. Give me a call when you're looking at buying houses. I'll give you a pre-check, and give you a heads up.
yeah, absolutely.
Put some eyes on the feet on the ground, as they call it, boots.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, Robert, appreciate you.
All right, buddy.
Okay.
Have a good day.